Hi guys, Gina-Phillips here. We're going to do a brief interview today. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to interview a survivor. Um, I've been working with some women who are very interested in working with survivors. I have survivors contacting me, and I thought that it would be helpful to do several short little interviews, maybe definitely under 30 minutes, with a survivor where we give you the perspective of both sides. Um, we're going to talk about different aspects of what it's like for the survivor in the healing journey. What does she have to go through? And what's it like for the ministry person helping them? What challenges do we face? And we're going to start the interview with a survivor. We're going to call her Galaxy. She's going to remain anonymous. So, in the first stage of ministry, if you're in a clinical setting or you're in a ministerial situation where somebody's working with you as an inner healing ministry, the first stage of healing is establishing trust. You're not going to get anywhere with dissociative clients without trust. So a lot of that time in the beginning is spent getting to know one another. There's a lot of testing that happens on the other side from the client. They have been betrayed and had trust issues for so many years. Like it seems almost impossible that they could ever reach out and trust somebody. And it really does take a big leap of faith. And so a lot of times people push too fast, especially in the ministerial, like church ministries. They want to jump real quick into the memories. But you have a client in the beginning that's usually unstable. They're really struggling, and that's why they've presented in the first place. And the early time needs to be spent stabilizing them, helping them learn some grounding techniques, setting them up a support system that they can reach out to, and them for the first time finding somebody trustworthy. And that comes with a lot of challenges because you end up with a person that is oftentimes misdiagnosed as borderline. So you'll have somebody saying, help me, I need your help, and they're very childlike and very vulnerable, while at the same time you have other alters and people in the back sabotaging and hating you and trying to destroy you. So it causes problems for you as the clinician and the ministry person because you're trying to help and yet you're being treated like the enemy. And then it's very trying and difficult for the client who's trying to reach out and trust when everything in them is screaming danger. So we're going to talk, for the first question, I'm going to talk with Galaxy and I'm going to ask you, what were some of the biggest challenges in the beginning trust-wise? And first of all, how did you find the courage and the inner strength to reach out for help to start with?
So in the beginning, I had a therapist who was a good therapist, who was interested and compassionate and helping me. And because of that, for some reason, and in the beginning that I didn't realize why, I would keep coming back to this therapist. And a relationship did begin to form, and I began, because of the compassion and because of the consistency, even admitting that I was SRA.
Because you didn't even come in the beginning looking for help.
I did not.
Share a little bit about why you were in therapy in the first place.
In the beginning, I literally came, my assignment from the group was to come and find the weaknesses in therapists so that we could set up therapists in this specific area to be controlled by their weaknesses, their sins, if you would, whether that would be pride or greed or whatever their issue would be. We would be able to know how to blackmail them or use them in order to essentially collectively attack the mental health foundation that was in this specific area.
So you were scouting.
You
were sent to scout this therapist out.
Absolutely. And I wasn't looking for help. I wasn't looking for a way out. I wasn't looking for anything to change. If anything, I was looking to, how can I destroy this therapist? How can I make it so that I have something on her to blackmail her?
Mm-hmm.
But because she was consistent and because she was genuinely concerned about my well-being, I found myself going, even though I would be tortured and hurt because I was going, because I was making up excuses to the group of why I should still be going to see this therapist.
So you kept seeing her after your assignment was over,
Absolutely. And
to your
to
detriment.
my detriment, to my not only physical pain, but psychologically, that's very stressful as well. And I began telling her things that I wouldn't imagine that I would have told anybody, that I was SRA. I started bringing parts up that were willing to communicate with her. And because SRO was not her field of expertise, she brought in a consult. And the consult was Gina. And my therapist was a wonderful person, but she did not know God at the time. And Gina was a professed Christian, and I thought, oh, great, another opportunity to bring another therapist down. So even though I was bonding with this first therapist, I was still looking for ways to bring them down. And that is the duality of programming. That's why oftentimes we would get diagnosed as borderline, because we can very easily hold both sides in our hands.
I love you, I hate you.
Absolutely. I love you, I hate you. I'm going to destroy you. Please don't leave me. And that was very much how it was in the beginning. And there were several instances where when Gina was coming in as a consult, where I would see something different in her. And it wasn't necessarily that she was a better counselor or a better person or better trained or anything like that. It was simply the love of Jesus is what it was. She would talk about Jesus. She would talk about love and support in a way that I'd never heard before. It was so foreign to me. And at first I really rejected the idea of it. The idea of being a Christian was so, it was just vile to be perfectly honest. But she consistently held out her hand in support to me. She consistently was honest. When something would go wrong, she would be transparent and open and honest about any issues that would come up. She sacrificed. She spent time with me when no one else would. There were many things that showed the love of Jesus. And although I did not trust this at all, didn't want Jesus, I clearly did not want Jesus, I had to know what was different about having Jesus.
I remember you saying that.
I needed to know why she was different. And she said Jesus, period. And at first I didn't want to accept that as being a valid reason. I figured there had to be something else. There had to be some reason outside of this Jesus person. But truly, and coming to know through relationship with her, she loves Jesus and her whole world is about Jesus. And that love of God is what drew me through, because I can't say she had a magic wand or a special way to help me. It was truly Jesus coming through.
So I want to cover a little bit on my end what trust is like for the minister at the beginning. I learned the hard way. Hopefully I can save you guys some heartache. So you're trying to establish trust with the client, but my role as the clinician or the ministry person, if that's the person working with you, is that I have to be consistent. I have to be loving. I have to be concerned, because that's what that the client needs. They must have it. But at the same time, I cannot trust them at all. Okay, and so that's what makes it very hard to find effective ministry people, because you're having to love and work with somebody consistently, compassionately, having strong boundaries, and they are not trustworthy at all. Everything in their life is a lie. And they don't have the continuity of time to see all of the crazy, evil things that they're involved with. So you're going to have these helpless, childlike parts that come up, and they're so vulnerable and they're so needy and they're innocent.
Begging.
And it's going to pull on your heartstrings, and you're going to want to totally trust. And, it is probably authentic in those original child parts, but there's so much more under that tip of the iceberg that is dangerous. It really is a dangerous situation when you first start working with these guys. They are capable of any kind of crime you can think of. And so you got to be an intercessor, in my opinion. You have to be somebody that walks very close with God, knows your identity in Christ, because at its roots, this is a spiritual battle, and you're fighting to get somebody free. So for my end, trust in the beginning is I don't trust, but you don't really let them know how much you don't trust them, because it would make them run. Okay, so like I would catch her lying, and you have to have that discernment in the beginning of looking at them, knowing they're lying to you, and to discern, is their relation and bond with you strong enough to handle the truth of you knowing that they're lying to you, or do you need to just let it ride for a little bit? And in the beginning, you're going to overlook it a lot more, because there will come a time a little later where you begin to pick and choose your battles and you call them out on the lies. But you have to realize that they're not so much trying to convince you that the lie is the truth. They're trying to keep that lie alive in them because they believe the lie. It's their lies that keep them from having to look at the horrible things that they're doing in other parts of themselves. So this healing walk is a very delicate balance between supporting them, consistently being there for them, and letting them discover what's hidden from themselves. Okay, and so as a new clinician or a new person working with this population, some of the pits that we fall into is that we're curious and we want to know what the memories are. It's like, let's try not to do that, because it's not about us and what we want. We have to see where they are. Are they ready to look at it? And so if they're not ready to look at what's really happening, we have to do work on, I call it resistance work. We find out what's the resistance. Why are they unable to look at the other parts? Why are they unable to see the lies that they're telling themselves? And so you work on finding that need and meeting it support-wise so that they can then look at it. So again, on my end, trust, you'll have none, but you don't want to be a very suspicious person. You want to be able to love and know they're going to lie, and know that it's not so much about you. Don't take it personally. Don't let them cause a counter-transference in you. They're going to, but you don't want to act on it. A transference is when they transfer on you the expectations in the belief system that you're going to treat them like all the people in their past has. Okay, and so they're going to be looking for weak spots in you. Where do you have a chip on your shoulder? And when they find it, it causes something called a countertransference in us, and that means they trigger us. If they're like, you're a horrible mother, you're terrible, you don't care about me, you abandon me, you're never there. If you have that belief system in you, it's going to bring up all these emotions in you, and you would have the countertransference and be trying to prove that that's not so. We don't want to do that. That's not healthy. So if you get the countertransferences, you want to have, as the minister, your own support system that you go back to and you say, when Galaxy did this, it brought up this from my past. Let me work on it. So you need, as the ministry person, the clinician, your own support system to help you process what this person brings up in you. And they will find it. They themselves know how to read people, and the demons that are in them know everything about you. So it becomes a two-way street. You have to have the strength, the ego strength inside of you, and the spiritual strength to be able to consistently be there for somebody that will love you 1 minute and stab you in the back if they get half the chance, they'll do it. Be able to see and recognize what issues they bring up in you and work with them behind the scenes to grow and be strengthened so that it no longer becomes an issue, all at the same time. And so it takes a very unique person, I think, to be able to do that, but I believe God is raising them up in this hour. So you have to be somebody that can be like Gideon's army, where I think, what was it, that they could drink and stay, drink from the pool, which is like drinking from the Lord, but stay armed and on guard the whole time. So that was some of my initial learnings of trust at the beginning, is that you should have none, but you don't want to have a chip on your shoulder. Okay, so I'm going to end this video here because I want to keep it short. I want to do little short segments. If you guys have a topic that you would like us to address, some scenario for the two of us to share of what it's like for the client and the clinician, email me at my website address, which is Gina-Phillips, Gina-Phillips.com, Gina-Phillips.com, or you can write in the comment section below here a topic that you would like us to address. And again, I'm going to try to keep these short. And you guys take care. God bless you and keep you, and I'll see you around.